Hey, we're gonna make a pinky promise. You ready? You guys remember doing pinky promises like when you were a kid and like if this was really important and you were totally gonna keep your word that you pinky promised? That's what we're doing today. I'm gonna tell you why. So, in order for us to have this real growth and real conversations, this has to be a safe space. And you have to be a safe space with yourself. So, in this space at MC Speaks, Art of Heart, and Lead with Heart, we're a safe space. Imagine this to be like a safety bubble, meaning that we don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to get your words perfect. You don't have to make sure that the conversation is what you want it to be. You totally have the ability to change your mind. Whatever happens here is safe. And we're going to make a pinky promise. So I pinky promise that I will totally keep this safe space. And that you pinky promise that you are going to be open and honest with your conversations with us, like whether it's with me or with your friends or with yourself. Okay. So as we dive into today, I really want to talk about what we talk about. And what I mean by that is like, what are the conversations you like to have? How do you like to connect with other people? What are the things that when you get to talk about and geek out, you're so excited and you're like, this is rad. I love talking about this. And how do you then create that genuine human connection? I hate small talk. And I mean, I hate small talk. Like, you're at a work event and you have to be there and you've already been in meetings all day and you stand around the high tables and everyone's holding their drink and you're expected to mingle with people and be like, "Hi, how are you? What do you do?" And it ends up being this like one of two things. Either people just tout the things they've done in their life. They're like, "I have a PhD from 42 universities and I am the highest salesperson ever." Or they're like, I have two kids and my kids drive me nuts and I don't like my wife. And it turns into kind of this like small talk bashing session because people are afraid to genuinely connect. And I think the first part of that is that people are afraid to say the wrong thing. They're afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to be judged. They're afraid to be canceled. They're afraid that they're going to say something in conversation that's going to be used against them later. So we don't do that here, right? This is a place where we open up and we have real conversations and we have the ability to change our mind. Imagine there's a little permission slip in your pocket that said, Marissa said it's okay to talk about things, even if I don't have it all figured out and even if I change my mind later. And building that trust is really important. One of the key things in my life that's like this giant red flag that if happens, that person goes into a different category is if they use something I've said to them against me. I'm going to say that again. If someone tells you something, whether it's a spouse, a best friend, a coworker, your kid, whatever it is, and you use that information against them, it's like a giant red X for me. It's like, we're not doing that, right? Like, that's not how to be a good, curious, warm, kind person. And so what happens is we don't have this trust with people, and therefore we don't want to necessarily tell them what's going on because we're afraid that somehow that's going to be used against us. So the first step in correcting that is we don't do it to other people, right? And what that does is that breeds trust and that breeds open communication. I love to talk about things whether I know about them or not. So like if you're super into like Roman history and you want to tell me all the really cool things that happened in Rome, I'm here for it. I want to talk about it. I want to know what makes people tick. What makes people them. I'm going to share with you some of the things I really like to talk about and the things that I think are super interesting and the things that are always tracking in my radar no matter what's going on in my life. I love science. I think it's so cool. Like anytime there's some new picture from some new telescope, I'm literally analyzing it with all the wonder you can even imagine. I love to talk about astrology. I think it's really interesting. What are the planets doing? How does it affect our body? Like what's happening? I think astrology is really cool. It kind of makes up who we are. I love talking about people's stories, which is part of the reason why we have Art of Heart, right? I love to hear about what happened in people's lives because for me, it helps me get to know them better. I come to life in conversations with a sense of curiosity, not of judgment. And in fact, if you were to interview like the top 25 people in my life of all time, one of the things they will tell you is that Marissa's not judgmental. People come to me and tell me things, the wildest things you've ever imagined, whether they're close to me or a stranger on the street. I will never forget, I was in a bathroom in Las Vegas at a trade show. It had been a really long couple days, and I mean a really long couple days. I was exhausted. And I just wanted to like use the restroom, wash my hands, maybe wash my hands again. There was a lot of dirty things. And I just wanted like a few minutes of peace. This woman came up to me and shared her story of how she was living in a storage unit with her two children. And how she was doing her best and she was working 2 jobs, and it wasn't sad, and it wasn't she didn't feel down on herself. She felt like she was moving up and moving on to more things, and she needed that connection. And she shared with me her story, and we had a lovely moment. And when I left, it's been probably 20 years now, and I still think about her. And if I'm doing meditation or having a quiet moment, I always send her love and light. I don't know that I'll ever see her again, and I probably won't, but she made an impact on my heart. And those genuine connections, when people show up and tell you their stories, are so important. I could list 15 things that people have told me as the very first thing they've ever told anybody because they felt safe, because I don't judge. And I don't think that this not judging thing is something you either do or don't. I think it's something that we have to learn, and that everybody's different. I don't know what anybody's going through. I don't have any imagination that no matter who you are or what you're doing, that you fully understand the scope of whatever's happening in someone's life. But you could show up and be curious. And by curious, I don't mean you're asking questions with the intent to poke holes, but in those conversations where you're just present and you're genuinely listening, that curiosity of like, tell me how you feel. What does your heart look like? Are you taking time for yourself? Asking those questions to really build that robust conversation. I know for some people, like this big conversation all the time is also draining for them too. So you have to find the mix. Part of finding the mix is asking questions in a way that really drives that maybe robust isn't the right word, that genuine connection, right? That drives those moments. Sometimes we get caught in this loop of the small talk. And for me, the small talk always just seems like a series of obligatory questions and answers that we give to people because we just have to check the box that we've connected with that person or we've talked to that person and we're going to move on. And that's just so icky to me. I just don't love it. Also, I find that it ends up being super, super negative. Like people end up just in this negative thought loop of like what things they don't like about their life or things they don't like about politics or things they don't like about the weather or whatever. And listen, I'm a weather junkie. On the list of things I always want to talk about, the weather. I love the weather. But not like, how's the weather today? It's sunny. Like I'm super interested in weather patterns and what happens with weather and those things. You will find me watching Weather Channel like it's like a fun treat. So I'm one of those people. So the reason why genuine human connection is so important is it's literally the key to longevity. There's a whole bunch of science around how the most important thing you can do for your longevity and your happiness is to create these genuine human connections. Yes, eating well is important and exercising and moving your body is important and making sure that you're safe is important. But these genuine human connections is really key. People are more lonely than they've ever been. My friend and podcast producer, she is an expert in like literally destroying loneliness. She talks about how to make genuine human connection, how to make small talk in a way that leads to those bigger conversations. She helps remove that fear and anxiety of having a conversation, and how do you go into a room and mingle and leave with a friend or a better understanding of another human. She's super super resourceful and helpful in people being able to make these connections. A lot of people, it doesn't come easy for them. A lot of people feel othered when they go into these situations. They have a hard time making friends and they feel super lonely. In my life, I spend a lot of time alone. I travel a lot alone. In fact, in the next 20 minutes, I'm leaving on a 2-week trip to California for work, and I will see people in between, but a bulk of the time I spend alone. And that's okay. Being alone doesn't bother me. What has always bothered me is being in a room full of people and feeling alone. And I remember the first time it happened that I was so profound, it was deafening, was I had just gotten divorced in 2017. And I was actually in a group of my very best friends. We had gone to Food and Wine Festival, which is one of our favorite things to do. I flew into Orlando and we're all staying in the same condo. And everyone's kind of chatting and doing their normal thing. And I realized that I love all these humans very much, but I felt very alone. I didn't feel like the things I was talking about or thinking about or working on were the things they were. It seemed like we had lost our sense of commonality. I had moved away and I was very busy in my life, and they had stayed in the town that we grew up in, and they were also very busy in their lives. And we were still great friends, and I trust them and I love them, but it was like I had nothing to talk to them about. The things I thought were interesting, they had no interest in talking about. And the things they wanted to talk about, which was like PTA car lines and how they didn't like their spouse, I wasn't interested in talking about. And so I will never forget going and sitting on the edge of my bed, and I called the guy I was dating at the time and I said, I just feel so alone. And he's like, you're with your people. What do you mean you're alone? And I went on to explain this deep sense of loneliness. And it was because we didn't take the time to meet that curiosity and to find something that we connected on. That was my first glimmer into that this connection thing was so important to me. And being able to have conversations about, again, I didn't care what they talked about. I just wanted to talk about something other than the mundane things that were just very tactical in their life. It has plagued me since then. I have some friends that I talk about just very mundane things with, and I love them and they're important to me and they're my people. Um, but I don't pick up I don't pick up the phone and call them when I want like that connection point. I also have friends who are way smarter than me that talk about things I absolutely don't understand, and I love that because they're so into whatever they're talking about. I have a close friend, she's also one of my co-founders, and her and I can talk for hours about space and science and what it's like to do magic that we don't get to do, like as if we were really a part of Hogwarts and that was a real thing. And we can talk about anything and everything and instantly go into that super deep conversation. And it's wonderful. So find your people and what you can talk to them about and start to take a mental checklist of when you connect with certain people in your life, do you feel that connection be super vibrant and super robust? Think of it like the difference in like a matchbox or a match flame versus like a roaring bonfire. Where do you start to see those things? And if you just have that match flame, how can you come to the conversation with more curiosity and more questions that try to open them up? And if they're still not interested, that's okay, but you really should try. Sometimes people just don't know how and they feel afraid that if they open up about something they're really excited about, whether it's Star Wars or painting lace or the movies or whatever, they feel like you're not going to match that same level of interest because maybe that's what they've gotten from someone else. So today, as you go forward in your day and you think about being curious about genuine human connection, ask people the next question, be interested in whatever they're interested in, and see if that increases that connection. See if it turns it from a matchstick to a bonfire. And if it doesn't, find more people who give you that bonfire. Have a great day, everybody.